Hello and welcome to Brass Tacks, Talking Cybersecurity, brought to you by Fortinet. I'm your host, Joe Robertson, and cybersecurity is exactly what this show is about. But we don't talk technology, at least not very much. We talk about the business implications of cybersecurity with decision makers, executives, and board members whose roles could be impacted by cyber attacks. As for me, I'm an executive consultant helping top managers navigate the intersection between business needs and security requirements. Now, we call the program Brass Tacks because the expression getting down to brass tacks means getting to the core of a subject, the important points. So let's get down to brass tacks. Today's guest is Wolfgang Bitomsky, Chief Information Officer at FCC Environment. Wolfgang, welcome to Brass Tacks. Let's talk cybersecurity.
Thanks for the invitation, Joe.
I thought perhaps we just start quickly. FCC Environment, can you tell us a little bit about what the organization is and what your role in it is?
FCC Environment is a global operating waste management company. So we are doing business-to-business waste management and business-to-consumer waste management. And I'm responsible for the IT and the digital transformation in Central and Eastern Europe for 7 countries, over 160 sites.
So that's a big area to be covering. You're based in Vienna. We've come here to do this interview with you in Vienna. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Vienna. It's my pleasure.
I thought that we would start by thinking about the security implications of cybersecurity for the organization. Not just the business considerations, because there are a lot of business considerations. There's the threat of problems with production, with business impacts, and being able to continue working in the face of a cyber attack. But there are also legal requirements that a board of directors needs to be thinking about, and top executives need to be thinking about. Maybe you can talk to us about those for a few moments.
So for those of us operating in Europe, I think there are the 2 most important regulations are the GDPR one. This has been around for some years and the implementations are there and running and operated. And for some of us, the NIS2 regulation for cybersecurity is a new one because the scope of this regulation is now extended to several sectors. Waste management is one of the new sectors, so we have to implement this additional cybersecurity regulations and measurements to be compliant.
So NIS2, Network and Information Security Directive by the European Union. And there are directives like that and regulations like that around the world. I think specifically in the United States, there's the NIST with a T directives, and there are also directives by the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, that any publicly listed company in the United States, at any rate, will have to comply with. And the SEC is looking at directors and executives as being particularly and specifically responsible and answerable to the SEC for security breaches.
I'm sure that for every board member, cybersecurity is on their agenda. So it's not only an IT topic, it's a topic for the whole organization, covering IT for technology, covering HR for training and awareness, moving the mindset. It's about the legal departments having an eye about all the regulations which are applying to your company. And it's to the procurement departments for ensuring that the risks are also managed on the supply chains.
Oh, let's talk about some of those for a few moments. HR, how is HR implicated in cybersecurity?
So for giving you an example, we are running cybersecurity training programs. If you're joining the company, you have to get trained on the cybersecurity requirements that we have and the regulations. Then you're getting a yearly retraining of that so that we are really keeping up with the changing cyber threats. This is the most important things. Legal departments, regulations are changing. The NIS2 regulation, the EU directive that we just discussed, this is on the European level, but we will have national laws and implementations there. So there might be variations between the 7 countries that I'm responsible of. And then we have the procurement departments, which have to imply our security regulations on all our suppliers, making sure that the risks are managed that external suppliers or external partners bring to our company.
Okay, and you also, I suppose, are a supplier to other organizations, and they're doing the exact same kind of audit on you to make sure that your cybersecurity is up to the legal requirements that they impose.
That's true. So we see an increase also on cybersecurity requirements by our customers that we have to fulfill, especially if you're doing business-to-business business.
Okay, so you have been implementing, just like every other company, something for GDPR for a number of years now. That's kind of built into the DNA of most organizations. But NIST 2 is very new, and the NIST 2 in the United States, coincidentally, also a second version. That's very new. What have you done with your top executives and board of directors to sensitize them to what's going to be changing with it?
We started the discussion as soon as the draft of NIST 2 was available. And when NIST 2, the European directive, passed the parliament, we already started thinking about an analysis program. We set it up now, an analysis program to identify the gaps that we might have to the upcoming regulations. National requirements are not clear. So in none of the 7 countries I'm responsible of, the national implementation of the directive is there. But we want to identify a common core and then start implementation as soon as possible to be compliant to the upcoming legal requirements.
A gap analysis can be a pretty major undertaking. Did you go up to your board of directors and say, we need, or at least to the executives, we need to have funding to be able to do a gap analysis so that we all understand exactly what has to be done and sensitize them to the fact that there are going to be gaps that we find?
This was part of the initial discussion, because this is a new regulation that we have to fulfill. It's a must. So it's clear you need funding. You need to think about the organization that you need. You need to think about the awareness trainings, as I mentioned with the HR department. What do I have to set up that the whole organization understands the new requirements that we have to fulfill? Because it's not only an IT topic. That reaches out, in our case, to all the production sites. We have to train the whole staff and make them aware of cybersecurity.
So when you go up to the board of directors, you're dealing with people who, in most cases, are not particularly technical. How do you bring up these subjects to them so that they, 1, understand, and 2, are really able to make decisions based on what the risks are and are not?
If you're going to talk to the board, you have to talk the language of the board. The board is always thinking about 2 things. It's about risk management for the company and opportunities for the company. So you have to transform the technology and the technology risks that you identify to those 2 topics, and then getting a decision by them. But the decision might be not, and technology is always a yes or a no. It might be something in between. Yes or no. It might be try that, make it fitting on a different time frame. We accept this risk, but you have to fix this one. So it might be not a black and white decision that everyone would like to get.
That's true. I think that in the case of many business decisions, boards do take gray areas into account, and the departments that are looking for funding can't always get all the money that they want. But that's something that we all have to live with on a regular basis, actually.
That's true. But you have to transform. Yeah? If you're coming from the cybersecurity and coming from a technology background, change the way of communicating to the board.
Okay, and when you're communicating with the board and with top executives, it's not just the board, this language that we're talking about is really one of being able to explain in simple terms what all the different complexities are in cybersecurity. Because I know in the case of some of the companies I deal with, the executives say to me, why does the cybersecurity team keep coming to me and wanting some new gadget, some new gizmo, something that they say is going to be wonderful, and every 6 or 9 months they come up wanting something new?
If you're talking to the board, transform your message in risk management. And the other thing that managers in cybersecurity and CIOs have to deal with, don't always go for the newest gadget. Try to find a tool solution which supports your organization and fits your need. As you said, every 6 to 9 months there are new tools around, but your organization will be only capable of handling a limited number of tools. So try to find the best fit for your organization and then go for it.
One of the things I hear a lot of CIOs and CISOs that I talk to lament is the difficulty of getting cybersecurity skills and even general IT skills, that the market is very tight for these. That involves not just getting staff, but it involves training, and involves the HR department and setting things up for a career path within the IT and the cybersecurity organization. Have you been dealing with that on a regular basis? You see the same problems?
Definitely. I think everybody around the world see that it's very hard to find IT resources, and it's even harder to find cybersecurity resources. So you really have to think about different ways of getting the resources that you need. This is opening the career paths, retraining people, either with a technology background, but maybe also being open for somebody who wants to start a new career and changing from a complete different department, from the HR or from the business. If he or she is interested in cybersecurity, being open to these people, welcome them, train them, and then let's go for it.
So it's not just really a question of the other departments being implicated in actively supporting cybersecurity. In some cases, they can have staff that might really be interested in the technology, and they need to be open to the idea of a transfer into the IT department for that it is a career path, a very important possible career path for some people.
And the IT or cybersecurity organization have to be open for those people. They have to welcome people who want to take the chance, getting trained, learning something new, changing their way of career.
Yeah, it's very difficult nowadays to say you've got to have 3 or 5 years of experience in cybersecurity, because those people are not on the market.
You can't find them. There is no way.
If we get back to the board of directors, you've been talking to a board of directors, and using their language, risk, and whatnot. They're going to be asking, are we safe? Are we protected? What things have we done? Give me a checklist of where we are. Tell me if we've got everything checked off. Okay? If you've got a checklist and you've said, yes, I can do this, I've got this box, is that all that's needed?
No, definitely not. We all learned that 100% of security is not there. So it's getting only prepared. The checklist make it harder, but it's only half of the way you have to go. The other one is practice. Getting prepared for the case. I'm always saying that cybersecurity is like the fire department. And fire departments spend much more time in training, in exercising, than being really on the site of a fire. But if it happens, they have the roles, they have the responsibility, and they have the training. So they can focus then really on the job to do.
The more you've trained, the more the muscle memory is in place, so that you do the right things at the right time without having to think about them.
That's true. And this training not only involves the IT department itself. This is also involving the communication department, getting prepared what I'm telling maybe to my customers or to the press. This is involving the legal departments for any communication that you need to do with the authority. And last but not least, you have to train your board, because you might end up in a crisis situation. So it's good if the board knows what's ongoing and not freaking out in that situation.
Yeah, you don't want panic in that environment.
Yes, you have to do everything that you don't panic in these situations.
But that you do react.
Yes.
Very important words there. You don't just wear the security hat, obviously. You're in charge of all of IT. What sorts of things have you done to bring cybersecurity into the mindset of the entire IT department?
I think historically cybersecurity always have been seen as this department which says, no, this is not allowed. No, you can't do that. This will never happen whatsoever. So I think one of the key things is that you bring in cybersecurity at the beginning of an idea, the beginning of a new product, of a new software development, and then start working constantly on making it secure for the company. And all these discussions are happening very early in this development process.
So that's discussions with the user groups. The people who are going to be using a new application need to understand that there will be cybersecurity built in, and they may not be able to do some of the things that they would like to.
Discussion with the business, how to solve the problem, what might be a way to fulfill their needs, but keeping the company secure and safe.
Okay. Let me ask you one final question as we start running out of time for this week's Brass Tacks. I think is important to keep in mind is you've got a lot of constituencies, a lot of organizations that you deal with. When you think about the peer groups that you've got that are not in IT, when you think about the executives, the board of directors, what would be the one aspect of cybersecurity that you would like them to really understand?
Cybersecurity is not only the responsibility of IT, it should be on everyone's agenda. Everything starts with cybersecurity and everything ends a bit with cybersecurity, because a cybersecurity incident can happen to everyone every time. So getting prepared for these cases, this is the key.
Well, I can't think of a better way to close than with words like that, because they're absolutely true. Wolfgang Bitomsky, thank you very much for being with us on Brass Tacks, talking cybersecurity.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
That's it for today's Brass Tacks with Wolfgang Bitomsky of FCC Environment. I hope you have found it interesting and useful as well. Please join us again for another episode of Brass Tacks, talking cybersecurity, brought to you by Fortinet. This series is available both as an audio and a video podcast. You will find it on your regular podcast app or YouTube, as well as on Fortinet TV.